Welcome to the third episode of Future Friendly Food Podcast. I am Robert Egg, you are not, and this is Annika.
Back again. I was hoping for cake today to celebrate.
Ah, yes, cake. For the 35th anniversary of the Czech Velvet Revolution, a major victory for democracy. Except, what if democracy is the political equivalent of eating the same dry, flavorless cake for 35 years straight? Maybe it's time to try a new recipe, don't you think?
You're talking about Demarchy again, aren't you? That radical idea of ditching elections and letting randomly selected citizens run the show? Bingo.
And let's be honest, watching politicians campaign is about as appealing as watching paint dry. Our sources today compare modern democracy to a reality show where it's all about appearances, sound bites, and empty promises.
Well, they're not wrong. It often feels like the most well-dressed liar whims. But randomly choosing our leaders? That sounds like a recipe for chaos.
Does it, though? Have you seen the state of our current political landscape? Maybe a little chaos is exactly what we need to shake things up.
Okay, I'll bite. How exactly does this Demarchy thing work? If it were drawing names out of a hat?
Sort of. The basic idea is that instead of electing politicians, we have randomly selected citizen councils who make decisions on specific issues. Imagine healthcare policies being decided by people who actually use hospitals or education reforms being crafted by teachers and parents.
Decisions made by people who actually understand the issues they're dealing with. That almost sounds too good to be true.
Right. And think about all the money we'd save by not having to fund endless, ridiculous election campaigns. We could use those billions to actually fix things like our healthcare system or crumbling infrastructure.
That does sound appealing. But wait, wouldn't these councils just be filled with people who have no clue what they're doing?
Not necessarily. Demarchy isn't just about random selection. It emphasizes deliberation. These councils would be given the time, resources, and expert advice they need to make informed decisions. Plus, they wouldn't be beholden to lobbyists or political parties, so they'd be free to actually act in the best interests of the people.
Interesting. So it's not just about picking names out of a hat. It's about creating a system where everyday citizens have the power and support to make real decisions.
Precisely. Decisions about things that directly affect their lives, not just the lives of some wealthy political elite. Yeah, what else is a system where people have the power to make decisions?
Don't tell me, let me guess.
Our sponsor, Future Friendly Food. At futurefriendlyfood.store, you choose exactly which delicious, locally sourced foods you want to put into your body and support local farmers directly.
Okay, I'll admit that's a pretty smooth segue, but you still haven't convinced me that randomly selecting people to run the country is a good idea.
Fair enough. But stay tuned because in the next segment, we're going to unpack some real-world examples of Demarchy in action. You might be surprised at what you'll learn. And we'll explore why, just like switching to farm fresh produce, choosing Demarchy over democracy might be the healthiest decision we can make for the future of our society.
Aye, you've piqued my curiosity. Spill the beans. One of these real-world examples of Demarchy in action.
Well, remember those ancient Greeks? Turns out they were onto something. They used a lottery system to select officials in Athens. And it worked pretty darn well for centuries.
So you're saying we should dust off the old toad and start drawing names out of a pot?
Not quite. But there are some modern experiments that are a bit more sophisticated than that. Our sources talk about deliberative mini-publics, which are basically small-scale versions of Demarchy councils. They've been used in Canada and the Netherlands to tackle a whole range of issues, from climate change to electoral reform.
What's fascinating here is that these mini-publics weren't just a bunch of random people spouting opinions. They were given access to experts, facilitated discussions, and really dug deep into the complexities of the issues at hand.
And the results were pretty impressive. Studies have shown that participants in these mini-publics tend to be more informed, more engaged, and more likely to reach consensus than traditional decision-making bodies.
It's like taking the best aspects of jury duty, a diverse group of people coming together to make a decision and applying it to the whole of government, without the boring waiting around, of course.
Exactly. And without the pressure of having to please voters or donors, these councils can actually focus on making decisions that benefit everyone.
Okay, I'm starting to see an appeal, but let's play devil's advocate for a moment. What about accountability? In a democracy, if a politician messes up, we can vote them out. How do we hold randomly selected citizens accountable?
That's a valid concern. But Demarchy wouldn't be a free-for-all. There would be systems in place for transparency and review. Citizens could challenge decisions they disagree with, and councils could be held accountable for their actions.
So it's not like we just be throwing darts at a board to pick our leaders and then crossing our fingers that they don't mess everything up.
Nope. It's more like carefully curating a diverse team with a clear mandate giving them the tools and support they need to succeed, and then holding them accountable for their decisions.
And if they completely botch it, we can always go back to electing the best dressed liar, right?
And I never said democracy was perfect. But at least with Demarchy, we'd be giving something new a chance. Something that might actually lead to better outcomes for everyone.
You know, you're starting to sound like a true believer.
Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm just tired of the same old political circus. By the way, I think it's worth exploring alternative models of governance, especially when our current system seems to be failing us on so many levels. It's like sticking with the same brand of mass-produced bland crackers when there's a whole world of delicious artisanal options out there.
Okay, I'll bite. What's the Demarchy equivalent in those artisanal crackers?
So that would be our sponsor, Future Friendly Food. They're all about getting consumers more choice and control over their food, connecting them directly with local producers who are passionate about quality and sustainability.
So instead of settling for the same old political crackers, we can choose to create a more flavorful, diverse, and nourishing system of governance.
Exactly. And just like exploring new foods can expand our palates and improve our health, exploring new political models might just be what we need to revitalize our democracy or even replace it with something better.
Food for thought, indeed. So where do we go from here? How do we move from these theoretical discussions to actual change? What's the next step on this journey towards a more Demarchic future? So where do we go from here? How do we move from these theoretical discussions to actual change? What's the next step on this journey towards a more Demarchic future?
Like any good recipe, it starts with the right ingredients. We need to raise awareness, educate people about Demarchy, and build a movement for change.
You mean convince people to ditch the political system they're used to for something completely different? That sounds like an uphill battle.
Maybe. But revolutions have happened before. Look at the Velvet Revolution we're marking today. People power can achieve incredible things when they're hungry for change.
And speaking of hungry, this deep dive into Demarchy is making me crave some actual food. Something fresh, local, and, dare I say, revolutionary.
Well, you're in luck, because our sponsor, Future Friendly Food, is all about revolutionizing the way we eat. At futurefriendlyfood.store, you can find a delicious selection of locally sourced produce meats and artisanal goods. It's like Demarchy for your dinner plate. You have the power to choose exactly what you want, supporting local farmers and businesses in the process.
I like the sound of that direct democracy from farm to table.
Exactly. So while we work on transforming our political system, we can at least start by transforming our eating habits. Small steps can lead to big changes.
Well said. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be celebrating the anniversary of the Radish Revolution, where we finally tossed out the old stale political system and replaced it with something fresh, vibrant, and truly representative of the people.
A revolution fueled by delicious, locally sourced food and the collective wisdom of randomly selected citizens. Now that's a future I can get behind.
Until then, let's keep the conversation going, challenge the status quo, and remember that the future is what we make it.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of Demarchy. Remember to check out Future Friendly Food, that store, and start your own personal food revolution. Until next time, stay curious and stay hungry for change.